Welcome to Season 2 of the Face to Face Ministries podcast. I am Melinda Wilson.
And I'm Kathy Little. Thank you so much for joining us as we introduce you to ministries and leaders from around the globe who have said yes to the Isaiah 61 mandate to heal the brokenhearted and set the captives free, helping people to step into who they were always meant to be.
And for more information about us, please visit our website, face2faceministries.org. That's all one word, no spaces, no numbers, and no caps. And please follow us on our social media platforms, face2faceministries.org on Facebook and on Instagram, face2facemin.
Welcome to today's episode. We are so happy you're here. All right. Hey, welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome back. Welcome for the first time, whether it's your 50th or 70th or 71st podcast.
And this is 72.
Yeah, or 72nd.
Hey,
welcome.
I don't think we ever thought this would happen. We actually found out some random statistics that we didn't even know about, but a friend of ours mentioned to us that we're actually in the top 50%, if not better, with our podcast because we have almost 45,000 downloads.
Woohoo!
Can you imagine? Who would have thought when we started this a year and a half ago or so that we would be cranking out here episode 72 and countless guests at this point. I've lost track of how many people we've had the privilege of interviewing, and today is actually a little bit different. We're doing, we wanted to introduce you to some real people with some real stories that just help you understand the benefit of heart healing. And
not just to say that the other people aren't real, or not unreal.
Absolutely.
They are definitely real.
They are very real. They're very real, but they have a different perspective.
I just wanted to inject
I know, I appreciate it. And I hope everybody loves the banter that we come up with. But we're both really passionate about people getting their hearts healed. I mean, that's a big deal.
It's absolutely why we're doing what we're doing. It's the whole calling and motivation and intention of why we do what we do. And we're so excited to introduce somebody that has been on the receiving end of the ministry that we do. And it's not to say how great we are. It's more to showcase God because He's the one who's the healer. But we love sharing testimonies because that way, you know, when we hear a testimony of something that God has done or an experience someone's walked through and they're a normal person just like you and me, then it's like, oh, wow, that happened for her. It can happen for me. And that's why we're going to be sharing this testimony today and also a couple more.
Yeah, we're going to start interspersing them just here and there because we really feel like it's important to hear real stories from real people about the benefit of heart healing. But you know what? Heart healing might be a new concept still to many. I know if you're listening to this, it's probably not. But we are really excited to introduce you guys to a very special online event that we are doing beginning next week, August 31st to the 4th of September. It's called the 5-Day Heart Healing 101 Journey, and we're doing that online. It's going to be live via Zoom. We have a private Facebook group as well. You can find out all the information you need at face2faceministries.org/journey. We are really excited. We've got some really cool stuff planned.
We do. Not only will Kathy and I be teaching, hey, you can see us in person live, you can interact with us, and we get to share what we're passionate about, even more in depth in teaching. But we have amazing guests. Dr. Mark Verkler of Communion with God is going to be sharing some very practical keys to connect with and hear God's voice. It's going to be interactive. He's going to lead us through an exercise. And then there's even going to be time for question and response.
Yes.
And who else is going to be joining us?
Jim Banks, who, you know, a lot of people who've listened to the podcast have heard these names because we have interviewed both Mark and Jim and Pat, his wife. But Jim is the author of the Trauma Prayer, which is changing lives profoundly.
Yeah, it's had over 1 million downloads.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Jim and Pat were my mentors in the healing rooms in North Carolina. They are incredibly gifted, wonderful people. I highly recommend coming on just for Jim, but really for everybody.
Yeah.
They're all such marvelous people, and we have a couple other special guests.
Yeah, we've got Margaret Webb, who is from Alive and Well. She's on the board for Life Model Works. We've interviewed several of the Life Model Works folks, and then Nick Harang from Deeper Walk International. This is a really amazingly powerful lineup, you guys. And we are making this available to you at no charge. This is a free 5-day event. It'll be about 90 minutes a day, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 o'clock on the East Coast. And if you're in Britain, it's 7 p.m. And we're just very excited to expose you guys to this content, to these people, and just continue that journey to dive deeper and what it means to have a healed heart and the benefit of that and the impact it can have on your life. And speaking of the impact it can have on your life, we want to introduce you to Heather Duzan. She is a friend of ours who attended our recent Dash Away weekend event in Lake Tahoe, and she's got a pretty amazing story. We wanted to share that with you. So here we go with our friend Heather. We are doing something a little different today in this podcast episode, and we're excited about it because, a lot of people listen to this podcast who may think that, well, hey, that's really well and good for everybody else, but what benefit would it actually have in my life? We talk a lot about our Dash Away weekends for ladies that we've been doing. We talk about the one-on-one prayer ministry we do, the heart healing model that we use, the Emmanuel approach. We talk about these things, but we really have been focusing on the people that are practitioners, and we haven't really spent a lot of time talking to people, just normal, average, everyday people who have benefited from receiving prayer ministry. And we thought, we need to have a series of testimonies so that people can understand the benefit and the life-changing impact that it can have on your life. And so today we have a really special guest with us.
We're pleased as punch to welcome our wonderful friend Heather Duzan. She is coming to us with us all the way from Lake Havasu, Arizona, and she came to our Dash Away last month, and it was so fun and wonderful to be with her, and we get to hear her experience from the weekend. And we were just talking to Heather a few minutes ago, and she is kind of a professional at retreats. And so she's been to a lot of retreats. And, it's one thing when you go to something and you've never experienced it before and it's like, oh, this is great. But then when you have something to compare it to, then it's like, oh, wow, that kind of is different than this or whatever. And so, Heather, we just would love to hear from you, your experience at Dash Away. We've talked about it. Like Kathy said, we've talked about Dash Away on the podcast, and it's hard to explain unless you've experienced it, really.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's better experienced rather than talked about. So,
would you just share your experience at Dash Away? What was it like for you?
Well, hi, everyone. I want to thank you for having me on here today, and I'm very happy to talk about my experience with you. I am a professional retreater that no one pays me to go on them, but I do go. And I've been in many environments. I've been to monasteries that are silent. The monks don't talk. And that's just really hard place for me to be. It's like run into the bathroom and just talk to my friends and walk back out, and it's all quiet. And then up to, a 200 women retreat where it's really mommy's gone wild, and so
I love that.
Some they're sneaking, wine in their rooms, and they're just yakking and chattering till the middle of the night. It's all good. Been there, done that. But you know what? I really get so much value off of a more contemplative experience. So when Roxanne invited me I didn't know who you were. She just recommended you highly. And I'm like, well, what's the worst that could happen? I'll be in Lake Tahoe and I'll just sneak off to the beach and do my own thing, And yet, man, you guys, you just captured me at, hello, I'm Melinda. Although remember I called you, I didn't know who it was.
Yeah. So I got to just share this I got to share. So I get a phone call on my phone. I don't recognize the number. I don't recognize the area code. And of course, it's usually we want your money, and they're calling from Minnesota or so, I don't know. And so I don't think I said like Al's Pizza Place, but sometimes I'll either say FBI or what, and I probably answered like that, like what or hello. And she was like, is this, and then she said, is this Melissa? I'm like, oh, great. And then I was like, okay, quick. It's probably someone from a dash away that doesn't know I'm Melinda. So be nice really quick. So then I just made a joke of it. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Heather. I would have said, hi, this is Melinda. How can I help you? But then so Heather funny. Says something like, I like you already because,
I did.
She was so laid back. So that was our introduction to each other on the phone.
I'm like, can we be real? Can we just be real?
Yes.
Exactly. If you wanted, like take out a spam call, I'm good with it. No problem. Oh, Lord. So, so anyway, I really loved being in the venue there at Zephyr Cove, Lake Tahoe. And I really enjoyed the integration into a group of ladies who didn't know each other, Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it was exactly what I needed.
What did you need?
I think in the last 4 years, I've been in grief space, which is kind of a new thing for me. I left my home of 30 years and my granddaughters. And in California, I wanted to go follow my husband to the hottest place in the United States. Second to Death Valley. And for someone who hates to sweat, it's just been an adjustment. And so just the loss of my friendships and the security of that and my business stuff. And then my father died in April 2017. And this is my dad. This is a John Wayne kind of a man in my life. And it was a horrible death for him. It broke my heart. So I think as people try to deal with grief, it's just so painful that they just sort of get a hard heart. They steel themselves against emotional energy. And in the course of that kind of very natural human self-protection, I couldn't find Jesus. I couldn't experience the intimacy with him, the nearness of him that I'd known for years and years and years. And it was the first time in all the trials that I'd been through that I was cut off from that. So I didn't know what would happen or if you guys could ever help me. But I knew that I needed something to happen quickly, soon, so that I could kind of move out of where I was.
So what happened that weekend to you, Heather, and how did God encounter you?
So you want me to just tell you about my Emmanuel prayer experience?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, on Friday night, we got a little taste of that, after we had an incredible meal and, some intro icebreaker stuff that was just hilarious. And I actually, my testimony around that blows my own mind. And, I just was meek and little and broken and self-conscious and shy. And those are not adjectives for me, and yet that's just where I was. And so we had our first experience with the Emmanuel prayer process. And in this space I was in, and I'm told to imagine a place where I've been very, very happy. I get this very clear experience of of a time with my husband. My husband, I'm like, move. Can we just move him out of the way? I'm not up here for this. And yet I couldn't get around this memory. It was this beautiful memory of this. My husband was kind of like a bad boy kind of a guy with a super tender heart. And I saw it when he pulled over to take this little lamb and put it over the fence back to his mom. And I'm like, oh, you smell good. You're super cute. And look at you. You're tenderhearted too. So I ended up marrying him. But, when you've been married for 47 years, there's a lot of challenges that come with that. You kind of lose sight of some of these beautiful little things that God has used to just bring us solidly together. So anyway, I'm like, all right, okay, fine. I'll go with that, And then this idea of where's Jesus in that? And it would be, I couldn't see him. All I saw were his legs. He had trousers on. It was from above the knee, and his shoes, his feet. I know it was him, but it was like his walking among us, if that makes sense, walking among us. And that, okay, so, all right. And the appreciation was to be able to go back home and tell my husband what a really great guy he is and how much I really adore him. And still, after all these years. But I'm like, okay, well, that's super awesome. This has been about Joe. And so, but, I know how to just settle into the thing. The morning, our night's sleep was great. I roomed with Roxanne. She's just a love of a human being. And it was a very much a blessing. But then we did it again Saturday morning. And here was my memory where another happy place. But this time I could see myself in Kauai and waiting to get into the swells of the water. And so we had to actually dive over a reef when the wave came in so that we could actually get beyond it and out into the swells that were big. It was the ocean. I'm so happy in the ocean. Anyways, so then I think Melinda was facilitating that, and she goes, now look around and see if you see Jesus. I don't know if this is what you did, but this is how I remember it. So I'm looking around, and I'm floating around in the water, and I look back, and there he is on the beach. And he has board shorts on and a tank top. And, my perception is he's more of Middle Eastern descent. So this jet black hair and, a little scruffy beard and these piercing blue eyes. It was just amazing. And his arms were crossed, and he was just grinning ear to ear, delighting in my... That's made me cry.
That's okay. That's good. Go for it.
Just communicating to me in a way that I knew was good. Everything's okay. And that he's right there, helping me walk out the thing. And I never since then, that's the face I see, is that smiling guy at the beach with me. And, interestingly, one of the other people said, well, they said he was homely. I'm like, that's the Old Testament. In his resurrected self, he's super hot. As we all will be. We will all be in our primest of prime. So anyway, that was a little bit of that. And I got down to the water and our fellowship. And the other thing is I had made a prayer appointment. And honestly, Ellen, she was just this beautiful, sweetest facilitator of some deeper prayer, and even taking, this whole thing farther was very healing in the deepest way. It was beautiful.
So before you came to Dashaway and before you had that encounter, that experience, how would you rate your connection and your ability to connect with Jesus? Like, how was it before? And then what changed during the weekend that you noticed a shift? What did that look like for you?
So my time before was a very dark and bleak, and honestly, very dark. I mean, last year, I was just in 3 very, very bad days. And I could only be in the belief of my relationship with God, where we, he said to Peter, will you leave me too? And Peter said, where would I go? You have the words of life. And so that's the scripture that I hang on to. That's kind of dry. It's kind of a dry place, And it just seems like having the ability to step away from everything and be in a totally different environment, and I'm not with all the other stimulus around me, that stuff began to chip away from that. And in the experience with you girls and your worship, I mean, I am a worshiper, and it was just so rich and breaking down, so that when God could come, I don't believe he's ever gone away from me. I just believe it's my own inability to, break through. And that through those prayer experience of the Emmanuel prayer, you're set up to really experience a quite a dramatic shift. I brought that home with me. That's who I see every morning. That's who I say, all right, what are we doing today? And I feel like it's kind of life-saving in a lot of ways, because I'm too authentic of a person. I just do not do, fake it till you make it business. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
I'd rather not make it than fake it,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
this is the same with my marriage. I told my husband, I'm like, you're going to have to be amazing, because I wrote the Warrior Wife book and I cannot have a bad marriage. So pick it up, dude.
Oh man. Wow. So how long have you known the Lord? Like, how long did you grow up in a Christian environment? Is this your whole lifelong relationship with Jesus, or when did you come to know Jesus?
My first encounter with him was when I was 25, and I had a really emotionally devastating day, and I crawled into this old Catholic church because that is my childhood faith experience, and I actually felt him lift this thing off of me physically. It was remarkable. And then a year or two later, I visited a friend, and she took me to her church, and it was more of a Pentecostal environment. And then there they are, singing and dancing and hugging and loving each other and loving God. And I'm like, oh, my people. So I went home. I told Joe, we're going to be Pentecostals. And he's all, yeah, no, we're not. But I will return to faith with you. And that began a faith journey. So I was saved then. And then and I had a couple of encounters along the way, or like in the Nazarene church. So we had this buffet of God. I mean, there's something great about God in all of these experiences, and that we're free to glean the things that speak to us and then shed the things that encumber us. So that's kind of been my story. We were then in a non-denominational environment for 12 years, and then we came to Havasu, and now we're in a Rhema church. We have a fun 45-year-old, energetic and funny and bold preacher. And my husband and I just adore him, and it's Inspire here in Havasu. Wow. So, but I've been in love with God ever since my experience in the little church. I don't know how he cuts through the dimension, to reach out to us and try to invite us in. No matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, no matter, it doesn't matter. I got you. I've got you.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So how have you seen things shift on this side of that experience at Tahoe this summer?
Probably in energy, in commitment to task, because I hate task, but I know its value. And so I came back and I set up a discipleship Bible study in my home, so women can really know the Word of God. And, it's like you put all your eggs in that basket. You want to know that they're safe in the basket, and that there's a purpose and a reason for everything. And so that's very well attended. We're going to have to split it up because it's too many people in our, room. And then all of a sudden I have this dreaming about taking women away to experience God in a deeper way, and I've been working on my avatar, they call it, my branding. And it used to be the, the old model of, well, she's got to be a woman and she has to be a Christian or whatever, or not. I don't know. But now my avatar, I'm looking for women that would rather ask forgiveness than permission. Those are my girls,
That's
who are
awesome.
willing to just go break through some of their own fear boundaries and see what's possible for them. That all came out of the retreat with you.
Wow.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow, Heather, that's amazing. And I feel like there's a even much longer conversation here, but you really summarize things in a good way, and just how you shared. I'm picturing all this stuff, and I love just how colorful you are, and
how real you are.
Yeah, how real you are. And you're definitely designed and created to shine and be out front and be big. And I love how Jesus met you that weekend. And so thank you so much for the richness and how you shared the depth and the authenticity, the vulnerability. And that's what really releases other people to be vulnerable and to share, and to not apologize for tears, to not apologize for emotions coming up, or, hey, this is how I really feel. I need to say it. And I really thank you for giving people permission to do that, because you're doing that yourself. And thank you for how you shared, Heather. And we're so delighted to have met you, and we certainly hope we can have an ongoing friendship. And I love your heart for what God's called you to do. So thank you for being our very special guest today, Heather.
Thanks so much, Heather.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed meeting Heather, and we look forward to introducing you to more friends, sharing testimonies of what God has done. So stick around. If you haven't yet left a review, please leave 5 stars for us. And we love hearing from you. If you have any questions, hey, reach out, get in touch with us, reach out, let us know what's been, ministering to you or touching you or reaching you. If you have any questions, please let us know. We'd love to interact with you. And man, if you come next week, we really definitely can interact with you and see your faces. We love that so much.
Yeah. So facetofaceministries.org/journey, no spaces, no caps, no numbers. So learn more there. And we're excited to bring you more content as we keep trucking forward.
All right. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you for listening to the Face to Face Ministries podcast. And to be sure not to miss any future episodes, please subscribe.
And to help us get the word out, please share this podcast with your friends. Give us a 5-star rating and leave us a brief review. More content is coming your way.
Thank you so much for listening.